Welcome into this week's episode of Codcast. I'm your host, Emma Carman. We are so excited to welcome in Brandon Bailey to today's episode. Brandon was a part of the 2015 Yarmouth-Dennis Red Sox and is now a professional pitcher with the Cincinnati Reds. Brandon, thanks so much for coming on this evening. We're super excited to have you on. How are you doing?
I'm good, Emma, and I really appreciate you guys having me on. Obviously, the Cape Cod was one of the best summers of my life, and a lot of really great experiences with YD, and just a crazy summer. And it's come full circle and kind of reminisce. It should be a fun conversation.
Yeah, for sure. So as I mentioned, obviously summer of 2015 feels so far back from now. What was like the biggest impact that summer as a whole had on you, especially now in 2022?
I think it's a combination of a couple things. First off, the friendships that I made with my teammates at YD, but then also just looking back and seeing the connection of all the professional athletes that I play against now that I played against then. It's honestly insane. Like you think about Bobby Dalbeck, Ronnie Dawson, who's actually living with me right now for spring training. We're staying in the same house, competing against him, Donnie Walton, Stephen Wren, like so many talented players that still play today. Shane Bieber was on my team for a quick moment in time. The list goes on and on. All the players that were playing that summer, and just right on the Cape Cod, and it's such a talented league. The friendships that were made, but then also just the amount of talent that was in one central point, and to see how far everyone's come in their careers is just truly remarkable. So the memories and the friendships for sure.
That's great. And obviously you mentioned all the talent that's there. In that summer of 2015, like who were a couple standout people that you remember either playing with or pitching against, anything like that?
So I'm trying to think. Ricky Tyler Thomas on YD for us that summer was unbelievable. I think he didn't lose a game, and I think he was the All-Star game starter for the East, if I'm not mistaken. Or he was for sure in the All-Star game. I just remember him absolutely dominating the entire year. Super impressive to watch, and I think he's still working his way up with the Texas Rangers right now. So it's fun to keep in contact with Ricky, but he was definitely probably the most impressive pitcher I saw outside of Mitchell Jordan, who was also a teammate of mine back when I got drafted in Oakland in 2016. I don't remember the exact streak that he went on, but I think it was like 30 some innings plus without giving up a run. It was just unbelievable. So those were the two standout pitchers that I remember for sure. And then hitter wise, I mentioned Ronnie Dawson before, but he hit a home run off of me at Orleans that I don't think that ball has landed yet. It was a absolute moonshot. But honestly, that whole Orleans lineup that summer was just unbelievable. I think just all the way around the horn, like, and all across the field, they were just super stacked. You got like Sean Murphy, who's the starting catcher for the A's behind the dish, Bobby Dalbeck at third, who's the starting first baseman / third baseman for the Red Sox. I'm trying to think. Ronnie Dawson, obviously very talented player. Bryson Brigman, who I think is still with Miami at this point, but super great player there as well. The list goes on and on. That Orleans team was just stacked. But Ronnie Dawson and Bobby Dalbeck were definitely two big standout hitters that I faced that summer.
That's great. So friendships, hey, they last forever when you make it in the Cape.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
Great. So obviously, big game for you was, I'm going to give you a throwback now, pitching 6 innings in the game that clinched the championship. Kind of take me through that moment when you were on the mound there, game 3, last game of the summer. What were you thinking then?
Oh man, I'm not even gonna lie, I was so nervous. That was the most, like, probably outside of my big league debut, that was probably the most nervous I felt for any start in my career. Just going into that final game, it was a really close series with Hyannis, and we were just battling the first 2 games back and forth, just really intense series. And it all came down to that last game, like, winner take all, and this for all the marbles. And just for me to not only start opening day on the Cape in Chatham was a huge honor in itself, but to come full circle and to see how much I had developed just in a matter of a couple of months and how much I'd improved under Coach Pick and then Matt Blake being my pitching coach, I just learned so much and to come full circle, but then be able to perform the way I did in such a big moment. I'll never forget, like, fans completely surrounded the field all the way in the outfield in Hyannis, and my mom and dad were able to fly in to watch the game and catch it just in the nick of time. And just the amount, like, of emotion that was into it, like the energy at the ballpark was just unbelievable. And it was just, from the moment I stepped on the rubber and I threw that first pitch, I knew I was on. I felt really good, and just to perform the way I did, uh, I was super proud of myself for how I competed and how the composure I showed, and just to give us a shot to win. And then obviously you got Ben Bowden, the big left-hander from Vanderbilt, that came in and backed me up, and just shut the door. Just super, super exciting series, super exciting game, and it's a memory that I'll never forget.
You mentioned the coaches, obviously you only have about 3 months in any summer league. What kind of impact did they have on you, and what kind of lessons did they teach you that you kind of took with you now into playing professional?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, Scott Pickler is just a legend on the Cape and just a legend in the college baseball slash summer world. He basically taught me just the early stages of how to be a pro. What is it? What are these pro scouts looking for? Like, when you have a bad outing, like, how do you need to compose yourself? Some good habits to get into just from the very start, showing up to the field early, taking pride in everything that you do, because all scouts are always watching, whether you're playing that day, not playing, like, what's your pregame routine on start day, or what are you doing on days that you're not pitching? Like, what does your in between start routine look like? So many things. He just really taught me attention to detail, but then also the early stages of how to be a pro. And then with Coach Matt Blake, it's honestly insane to think that my summer college pitching coach is now the big league pitching coach for the New York Yankees, working with, like, Garrett Cole every day. Like, to have that level of coaching in the Cape Cod is just unbelievable. And uh, at the time, Matt was still working at Cressy Performance up there on the East Coast, so he was really big into helping me learn about the importance of hip mobility and T spine, like, rotation, and just, like, trying to be very mobile with my body, and how important recovery was in between outings. But then also, Matt was just had such a way of just, like, teaching me how to pitch, sequencing pitches, learning how to set up hitters, and how to attack guys with the stuff that I currently had. So very, very valuable stuff, very advanced, and super thankful for the opportunity to play under those guys.
So with all that advice that they gave you, obviously I know a lot of people probably viewing, listening this, either are going to be players within the Cape or hope to be one day. What kind of advice do you have for anyone listening when it comes to, playing within the Cape, and obviously taking every day as a new experience because it flies by in 3 months?
Yeah, soak up every moment, because the summer is going to fly by. And if you're lucky enough to play 2 summers in the Cape, obviously more power to you. But for most guys, it's probably just going to be 3 months, and it's going to be probably, like, when they say don't be like, how can you not be romantic about baseball? Like, that quote is literally, like, just defines what the Cape Cod Baseball League is. It's baseball in its most innocent form. It's like its purest form too. It's genuinely just all about, like, just American summer nights, and you got people from these small little towns that are getting behind their local team. And it's just, you're getting to play with some of, like, the very, very best players in college baseball for one summer, and you just get to be a kid, and soak up every moment you can, because it flies by. But then also make sure you're taking the time to experience, like, Massachusetts and what the Cape Cod has. There's a lot of history there, and a lot of fun things to do, beautiful beaches. And I think you got to have that balance. Like, obviously, the drive to try and become a professional athlete is first and foremost your number one goal, but also just soak up those summer moments, because they're really great memories for sure.
With all those summer moments too, I'm sure you stayed at a host family. So kind
I
of what
did.
was your summer like with your host family? Kind of any memories with them down there?
Yeah, so Bob and Fran were my hosts, mom and dad, and I still keep in contact with them today. I tell this joke all the time. If anybody's seen the movie Up, Mr. Fredrickson, Bob is literally the spitting image of Mr. Fredrickson in real life. I swear, he literally is. it's identical. Like even his mannerisms and like his just attitude. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. But they were the sweetest old couple. Welcomed me into their home. And right, I could walk from the driveway to Dennis Beach and be there in like 5 minutes. Just absolutely just beautiful colonial home right on the Cape. And they were just the hospitality and like they're just welcoming me into their homes with open arms. And just I'll never forget it. They were such great friends to me and like people that I still stay in contact with this day. And I hope to see them again really soon. So those bonds, not even just with your teammates, your coaches, but your host families, those are memories and experiences that you will never forget.
Were you by yourself with your host family, or did you have any other teammates?
No, David Ellingson was my teammate, and I'm pretty sure he's maybe still pitching with the Mariners. I'm almost positive he is, but Georgetown relief pitcher, mid 90s with a nasty slider. I remember just like great memories of coming home from a game, and Bob would make his famous chop suey, which is basically just like some sort of pasta like mixed together, and it was super good. And we would play phase 10. I had never played before, if you can believe that. And I'm a college person, and I've never played phase 10. And we would just play for hours, and it would be so much fun. And just those are like little things that you won't forget. You know what I mean?
You mentioned that, exploring Massachusetts. What do you think some of your like top 3 memories were there outside maybe of baseball related things that you were able to experience?
Yeah, so I remember we had a workout where we went out to Fenway Park as a league and basically did like a workout for scouts. And for pitchers, it was more so just to be a tourist for the day and experience Fenway, because they didn't let us throw bullpens or anything. But I got to shag BP and things like that, and just be a baseball player on a big league field for a day. And it was just super cool. So me being the baseball nerd that I am and just like a history nut, there was just something about stepping on a field, knowing that like Ted Williams and Babe Ruth and Carl Yastrzemski, Mickey Mantle, like so many talented players have like stepped on that field, and just to like share that same energy with them, like it was just made me feel really connected to the game. So that was really powerful. But then after that, my parents and my grandparents were in town. We actually went and did the Boston Tea Party Museum thing, and I got to throw like a fake box of tea into the river or into the harbor. And that was cool because like I said, I'm a US history nut, so I just eat that stuff up. And then last but not least, like going up to Plymouth Rock. And it was actually kind of funny. It's like very anticlimactic because you think it's going to be this like ginormous rock, and it's just going to be like, like this glow of light just beaming on it, and you just walk over and you're just like, this is not what I was expecting. It's like not very exciting, but at the same time I thought it was cool because like I said, I love US history. But those were 3 memories that just in terms of experiencing Massachusetts, experiencing the Boston area and the Cape, that I'll never forget.
So I know you mentioned obviously amazing summer within the Cape, and then you mentioned debut stuff. So obviously you had your debut, quite an interesting time, July of 2020, mid-pandemic. Kind of what was it like versus most normal professional debuts that people have?
It was just such a weird situation, because we go from, well, for one, I was Rule 5 to the Orioles at first. So I did spring training, the normal spring training of 2020. I was in Baltimore, and then COVID happened and they returned me to the Astros. And then it was kind of just like a waiting game, right? Just every day trying to stay in the best shape that I could under quarantine, just getting really creative, trying to do workouts in the house, and then going and throwing with this high school kid that was down the street just to try and keep my arm in shape, and just kind of waiting to hear like, what is the plan? And then literally, I think I got the call late June from Houston that I was invited to be a part of the 60 team pool, or the 60 player, pool for the Astros to try and do spring training 2.0. And they were like, can you get down to Houston in 2 days or something like that? So I literally just threw all my stuff in my truck and I drove down there. And it was just such a crazy experience because I remember not really having any expectations. I was just super thankful to be one of the 60 players that actually got to practice and work out and work on my game. So I was looking at it more of just an opportunity to get better. But I guess obviously Dusty Baker and Brent Strom and company saw something in me that they felt I had shown enough during spring training 2.0 that I had earned a right to be in the bullpen. And so obviously to have Dusty Baker, one of the most like historical, like major league managers of all time, and like some of the like baseball moments that he's been a part of, to have somebody that influential and that impactful tell me that I'm a major league baseball player is, man, crazy. And then the first player that told me congratulations was Justin Verlander on making the team. So it's
Um,
literally like a dream. It's like a movie. It's something that I will always like replay like vividly in my brain, and I can feel those emotions right now just talking about it. But so surreal. And even though there weren't fans in the stands, like just simply like looking out in Minute Maid Park, and I'm a teammate of George Springer, Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa, Josh Reddick, Michael. I could literally
the
go
list
down the
goes
list.
on.
The team was unbelievable, and I'm just like, I'm on the same baseball field playing in the same game as these players, and they're my teammates.
Mhm.
It's so surreal, and it's something that I I will forever be so proud of myself, because these are players that I looked up to growing up, watching Justin Verlander pitch for the Tigers, and it's like for that moment in time, like we were equals in a sense. Like it was my job to help him win this baseball game. It's
Mhm.
just crazy.
Amazing. So for anyone who obviously you probably have little ones looking up to you, whether it's kids in, high school, college, what kind of advice do you have for them? I know finally realizing like your teammates with all these amazing people, for the advice that you would give to anyone who's looking to kind of make that professional debut.
Yeah, so in terms of like playing with these like superstar players, is like you have to have that sense of perspective where it's okay to be starstruck, but at the end of the day, you have to collect yourself and be like, there's a reason that I'm here. It's because I'm really good at baseball and I belong on the same field as these guys. And as a competitor, it's like you have to believe wholeheartedly in yourself. Once I step between the lines, when I step on the mound, it's like no offense to Justin Verlander because he's like the greatest pitcher of our generation. But when I'm on the mound, I believe I'm the greatest pitcher on the planet. And I think that's something that any competitor, you have to believe in yourself first and foremost, and you have to believe in your craft, and you have to trust like all the training and all the hours you spent working on your game, that all of those all of those hours logged will pay off in the long run. And you just have to be a competitor and try to give your team the best shot to win. But then in terms of just trying to become a professional athlete, first and foremost, I genuinely believe good things happen to good people. So first off, be a good person, be a good student, because if you're not, if you're clowning off in the classroom, and those things matter, scouts pay attention to those things. Be a good person, try to give back to your community, listen to your mom and dad, be respectful of your elders. Because I genuinely think good, like I said, good things happen to good people, and the universe will reward people that try to just leave the earth a better place than they found it. And then also have that drive and that motivation is to know that there's always somebody better than you. So never stop working on your game.
The best advice. Love it. So from obviously playing with Gonzaga, then playing summer ball in the Cape, to grinding within the minors and now to majors, kind of what kind of transitions did you have to make both like mentally and physically to get where you are today?
Oh, I mean, huge transitions, at every level that you climb, the cream only rises to the top, right? And every level that you go through, it's like the competition only gets better and better. Strike zone gets smaller, the hitters get tougher, the game is faster. So just being able to be comfortable being uncomfortable, being able to adapt on the fly, being able to handle adversity, because you will fail. It's impossible not to fail in this game. So being able to have a short-term memory, like I said, trusting in your training, but also having that drive and that motivation to continue to want to work on your craft, because this game will humble you very fast. But yeah, I would say just being able to adapt on the fly and just being able to handle adversity are two keys to success for sure.
Obviously you've faced, a couple, there's ups and downs within every sport, especially baseball, and it's obviously a long journey. I know you've had quite that journey when it comes to some injury stuff back in high school, then last spring with UCL. What
Yep.
was the recovery process like with that? Obviously pandemic was hard enough, then that on top of it. Kind of how did you get through that all?
Just having a really great support system with my family. My immediate family, my mom, my dad, and my sister Bree. They have been with me through my first TJ back when I was 17 in high school, and they're obviously still here for me, supporting me through my second round go around. But just having a good support system, but then also understanding that I genuinely believe everything happens for a reason. And now coming full circle and finally getting to touch a mound again and throwing again. And I think that I was at a point in my life where, for whatever reason, the universe was like, you need a break. You need a break from the game, because I think I was kind of mentally exhausted from all of like the time and effort and the energy put into trying to make my big league dream become a reality. And I think in the weirdest way, the universe was like, you need some balance. You just need some time away from the game to just work on yourself, but also just be a normal person, you
Mhm.
know? Um, but getting through it, I would say just trying to take the time to do things that I don't normally have time to do being a baseball player. I've always wanted to learn how to country swing dance. Took that up and I've gotten really good at it, which is fun. And reading books, just exploring like the greater Phoenix area, going for hikes, trying new restaurants, just things that it was almost like I was filling my emotional tank uh, with motivation, like and energy, just in terms of like, all right, when I'm finally able to get back in the gym and I'm finally able to start throwing again, I'm going to attack it, my rehab and my recovery with reckless abandonment because I genuinely miss the game. I miss competing. I miss the environment. I miss the lights and the fans and everything like that. And now it was like the perfect reset. Obviously, I wish I didn't have to go through a major injury to have that like that reset. But at the end of the day, I just I'm thankful for my time as being a two-time TJ survivor because I hope that I can also be someone that people can look up to and look to for insight and experience and like, hey, like you came back from two Tommy Johns, like what worked for you and what did you do to get through it? So if I can just help future generations of baseball players in any way that I can from this experience, I would definitely say that would be the biggest positive that came from this situation.
So obviously when it comes to your schedule now, obviously super busy, not mentioning not having much time to do things on the outside. How are you going to be able to prioritize kind of both now baseball and keeping that same level of that extra stuff on the side now that you've kind of experienced both sides of the perspective?
Yeah, so I think obviously as a baseball player, we have to look at our lives almost like in a drawer or like a chest in my opinion. So it's like when I show up to the field, like I'm opening my baseball drawer, right? And this is like me getting my work in for the day, my training, my recovery, whatever that may be. But the moment I leave the stadium, whether it's I had a good game, a bad game, or if it was just a practice session, the moment I drive off the parking lot, it's like I'm closing that baseball drawer and I'm opening up something else, whether that be if I'm in a relationship at that point in time, trying to be the best boyfriend that I can be, or if I need to call my mom and dad and just catch up with family, trying to be the best son I can be, or if it's like, hey, like I got to go home and work on my master's program, I need to be the best student I can be. So just understanding that being able to separate work and my professional career versus like when I'm at home and all of the other hats that I wear as a person, I think that's very important for sure.
Do you have any last advice or stories for any of our viewers or listeners, whether it's about Cape stuff, playing professionally, family stuff, advice, or anything like that?
Uh, I think I already kind of touched on everything already, but I genuinely believe that good things happen to good people. At the end of the day, there's always going to be somebody more talented and better than you. So never lose that like inner fire and drive to try and be the best version of yourself because you never know when it's going to be your last game. You never know when they're going to take the ball away from you. So you got to soak up every last moment you can. I'm thankful that I've been able to play this game until I was 27 years old, but I'm hungry. Like I want to play till I'm 40. So I've got to do everything humanly possible to try and accomplish that goal, whether that's, staying healthy, training, whatever I've got to do to try and make that become a reality. So just never take it for granted and just soak up every moment you can, because time does fly and you can't get it back.
Very true. So last thing before we end this episode. So you have to answer 5 questions, fastest answer that you can think of. So the first one, the first
I'm
one,
ready.
I have to ask, where was your favorite spot on the Cape? Whether it was a restaurant, a beach, anywhere specific.
Oh my gosh. I can't think of the place. It's a breakfast place in Dennis, and it's super crowded all the time. Oh my gosh, I cannot. They have like really good cinnamon rolls, I want to say. I can't remember. It's a
Insert here.
breakfast diner. Huh?
I said
Yeah,
insert right here, whatever it is.
yeah, exactly. If you can look it up, or like we clip this, like it's a breakfast diner on the Cape and it's amazing.
Okay.
I can't tell you what it is, but it was incredible.
Best cinnamon rolls.
I think that's what they were. I don't remember exactly what I had. I just remember the line was always out the door and it was always like an hour wait, but it was so worth it.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right, next one. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. Does throwing 105 count? Is that a superpower? Oh man. No, I think teleportation would be really sweet. Just simply because, especially for what I do, uh, logging those hours in the air or on the bus, traveling from place to place, it really takes a toll on your body, and you have to really have a really dialed recovery and like routine in place with all that travel as a professional athlete. So if I could just be like, hey, we're playing in New York tomorrow, and just boom, I'm in New York, that would be pretty sweet. But then also just like, hey, like I want to go home to Colorado and see my family. Just boom, I'm there. That would be pretty awesome.
Maybe one day.
Maybe.
What is one thing people don't know about you?
I mean, if you know me, you probably know this about me, but I'm like a movie quote nut. It's kind of bad. Like I can't sometimes like I'll just apply movie quotes into like real life situations and then I can't turn it off. And I can literally do like a whole scene of like a movie, and most of the time it's inappropriate movies. So please don't ask me to like put me on the spot, because I'd pick like Talladega Nights or like Step Brothers or Dodgeball, and I don't think the fans need to hear me go on a dodgeball rant.
They can watch it if they're interested. They know.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
But yeah, just weird ability to just memorize movie quotes.
That's impressive. I'm not like that.
Yeah.
If you could spend an afternoon with any athlete in history, who would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. Wow. That is such a tough question because there's so many people that I could pick right now.
You can share a couple if you have to.
Okay, I'll do a current athlete and then like one like maybe that is passed on. I'm gonna say my favorite pitcher growing up was Tim Lincecum. And just to like spend a day with Tim Lincecum and talk pitching, go to In-N-Out Burger, hang out, maybe play a little bit of video games like the 2K, was it 2K, MLB 2K like 09, he was on the cover athlete, just like to be able to just to like experience a day with Tim Lincecum and talk about his like 5-year stretch of just pure dominance in the league, just being like a short pitcher like myself would be unreal. But then maybe somebody that's passed on. No, actually, I won't do passed on. I think Michael Jordan or Tom Brady would be really sweet too, just because like you hear about their mentality, and or Kobe Bryant. Geez, I just listed like 3 other dudes, but like all 3 of those athletes, it's like their mentality and the way they approach the game and the way they approach competition and the way they approach their recovery and just everything about what they do has significant meaning, and it's well thought out and planned. I think any 3 of those athletes would have been unbelievable just to experience like one day or one meal with those people, just because it's just like I feel like the conversation would just be so organic and free flowing. It would be unbelievable.
Also impactful too.
Yes, absolutely.
So last question. If you have one, what is your baseball superstition or ritual?
See, I'm I'm not a big superstition guy personally, but I guess like I just follow the standard, like don't step on the line.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I guess I follow that one. I don't really have any like big rituals. It's like I have to do this because I again I touched on being able to adapt on the fly, right?
Mhm.
Uh, Sometimes you're not going to be able to follow your pregame routine to the T, and you've got to be okay with that, and you still got to go perform and get the guy out. So besides like not stepping on the line, I don't really feel like there's much I that is like superstitious, I guess you could say.
Hey, that's pitchers. It's always the line. I swear.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so.
All right. Well, that's it for today, Brandon. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Hey, thank you, Emma, for having me.
This is Emma Carman signing off from Cape League Codcast. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast as well as follow us on social media at official CCBL on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you for all watching and have a wonderful week.